Next, we will familiarize ourselves with dimensions. We will cover types of dimensions, create our own dimension style, and also work with basic and additional tools. You can work with dimensions using the annotation group, located in the Home tab. Or we can move to the Annotate tab, Dimensions group. And the first tool we're going to start with is Dimension. This automatically adjusts to what it needs to measure. To finish placing dimensions, press Escape or Enter. Let's look at the line dimension. Let's draw 3 random lines and see an example on them. With this tool, we can measure the dimensions of objects located at any angle. The next dimension type is the ordinate. This dimension will start from the 0 ordinate. After specifying 2 points, you need to set the position of the dimension line, after which you can continue dimensioning the object. Next in line is the diameter dimension. We specify a point on the circle, after which we set the dimension line. Next dimension, radius. From the contour of the circle, the radius is automatically set, which is anchored to the center of the circle. The next dimension is the jobbed radius. It's used when the center of the arc or circle is located beyond the sheet boundaries. Let's try to create an arc and measure it. After which, we need to specify the location of the dimension and click with the left mouse button to fix the chosen position. We know that our center is located further than this dimension, but nevertheless, we have the opportunity to set the dimension. Next is the angular dimension. It allows you to measure an angle. We just need to specify 2 lines and fix dimension position. The next dimension is the angle ordinate. Angle ordinate dimension is hardly used. Its functionality is similar to ordinate dimension, but it works with angles. The next type of dimension is arc length. It allows you to measure the length of an arc. Let's select our constructed arc and set the dimensions position. Also, we see a symbol indicating that it's indeed the length of the arc. Next, we have the offset dimension, and it's most often used for measuring a spline. Let's create a spline arbitrarily. We'll use the offset dimension. Let's select the spline, after which we need to specify the start and end points of the spline and set the position of the dimension line. These are the types of dimensions in nanoCAD. Next, we move on to creating a dimension style. We can use this arrow, which opens the next dialog box. Or we can use the dimension style, which is located in the main tab, Annotation group. Also, we can just call dimstyle command. Here, by default, we have standard dimension style. Let's create a new style. We'll name it New Style. Start with Standard. Use for all dimensions. A dialog box opens, containing numerous settings. We won't go into all the details. We will only discuss what we will use in our work. In the Lines tab, everything is set up as needed. If it's possible not to change anything here, it's best to leave it. And if you need to change something, you can customize the settings presented here. Here in the preview, you can see how our next dimension style will shown. And in this case, we will leave the Lines tab unchanged. Symbols and Arrows tab. In this tab, you can customize arrowheads. Choose the architectural tick, and it will automatically update for the first arrow, and for the second one respectively. You can also set the leaders separately here. Let's select the dot. We won't change the sizes, as everything is set to the standard. Next is the Text tab. Next, we need to determine the text style in which our dimensions and possible leaders will be displayed. By default, there will be standard style if we haven't created any other text style. Next, we have the main text properties such as color, height, and so on. We will leave the placement of the text and its appearance unchanged. And in principle, the text alignment can be selected ISO standard or horizontal. Let's choose horizontal. Next, we move to the Fit tab. There are situations when there are many dimensions, and you have to build leaders. For text placement, you can choose an option like with leader, but I will keep everything standard. In principle, there's nothing more to change here. And we can move on to the Primary Units tab. Decimal unit is set by default. Let's set precision at 0 decimal places. Next, the decimal separator. We'll keep the rounding to 0. The prefix is what's before the text, the suffix is what's after the text. Here we can specify millimeters. And see that millimeters are now displayed in the preview. The same goes for the prefix, only the label will be before the dimension. We won't look at the next two tabs, they won't be of use to us. Now we can save our new style and set it. Now, let's close the dialog box and randomly create a rectangle that we want to dimension. Choose Align Dimension. Here, I recommend checking and before applying the dimension, switch to the appropriate scale. Let's also measure the next side. Now, let's try to make changes to the new style. For this, we'll open the Dimension Style Manager and use the Modify button. Right here, we'll set up the text alignment aligned with dimension line. Next, we'll set the suffix meters and save. It's already set as default for us. Now we can see how our dimensions are defined. Let's go back. Modify. Let's make the text placement vertical above. Horizontally leave it centered. And save. Now our dimension is located above the line. If necessary, we can switch from one style to another. First, we need to select the dimensions. After that, we can switch between the saved styles. Now let's understand the primary and additional tools that help in working with dimensions and marking them. Let's use this drawing. Now, for convenience, let's switch to the Annotate tab and use the following tools. The first thing we have is the group dimension. To measure lines' lengths using this dimension, we need to specify the objects we want to measure. After which, press Enter. And the next group of dimensions will appear. In a few actions, we can measure quite a large section of the drawing by only selecting the objects that fall within the group. Next is the baseline dimension. The baseline dimension will be based on an existing object and will act as an overlay on top. That is, we will construct dimensions starting from the same point, but ending completely in a different point. Next is the continue dimension. This command allows you to continue a dimension chain that starts from the continuation line of a previously created dimension. Next is the break dimension line. Let's measure the side of our drawing as follows. Now we see that our two dimensions intersect. We don't need this, so we will use the following command: break dimension line. We select the dimension that needs to be broken and specify the break points. This way, dimensions can be broken so they don't intersect. And, consequently, if we can break them, we can also unbreak them. In this manner, using the command unbreak dimension line. And the last thing is to oblique dimension. After selecting the dimension, we can set an angle for the oblique. Let's set it to 15. This is how the oblique dimension will look. And with that, we conclude.